We are about to begin personal finance at the University of Houston, Bauer College of Business. Today we're going to talk about credit crush. The assignment for this week is to take the information that you built into your financial plan last week and do something with it this week. So I'm broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. It is 222 222 I better fix that. I have it down as 222, but it's 222. So I'm going to jump over and admit some folks into the Zoom meeting, and we will get started shortly. Welcome. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. Hello, everyone coming into the Zoom room. I hope you're having a great day. So good morning. I'd like to do a sound check. Can anybody hear me? If you can hear me, thank you, Jose. Appreciate it. Good morning. Thank you guys for letting me broadcast from my home studio. Still feeling under the weather. I did take a COVID test last night and it came back. It was one of those quick tests. It said negative. I don't really test them. Last time I had COVID pretty bad and the tests both said negative. So I don't think I have COVID. I think I just have a cold. But you know how it is. Everything feels like COVID these days. And I do have a lady in my office who's been pretty sick with COVID. So we all got infected or exposed. Anyway, thank you guys. I do appreciate your flexibility. I'm still admitting folks into the Zoom room. This week we're going to talk about credit crush. Your assignment for this coming week is credit crush. Some of you noticed that I included this week's assignment and last week's assignment as a kind of a preview. Tried to make it very clear that it was next week's assignment, which is this week. But a few of you took advantage of that opportunity and went ahead and pretty much completed this week's assignment last week. So hopefully today in this Zoom meeting, in this lesson will help you kind of put some finishing touches on your financial plan. We're really going to focus only on one thing this week, but I want to spend some time and give you an overview of your financial planning portal. So before we get started too much, I want to give everyone a chance to join the Zoom room. I sent out an announcement last night letting everyone know that we would be meeting via Zoom. If you happen to be in my 11:30 course, you're welcome to be here live. I think I see some who are here live in the Zoom room. You don't have to be here. No one has to be here. You can watch this on YouTube. It's being live streamed to YouTube and Facebook. So I will put that in our playlist so you hopefully know where to find our playlist. If you don't, you might want to check in with the Group Me group and let someone give you a little direction. By now, everyone should know where our playlist is on YouTube and which page we're using to post this live to Facebook. So again, I will make sure this ends up, today's recording, this morning's recording will end up in the playlist, your playlist. So still letting folks in on Zoom. If you have any questions, now's a great time to chime in. I'm looking at the chat and I see everyone chiming in. If you're from the 11:30 class, if you would just put a little note, say your name, 11:30 class, and what time you signed in. So I see everyone signing in with your time. Thank you very much. But do chime in and let me know if you're from the 11:30 class. Just curious, actually. Again, you can watch this anytime. In fact, this may be one of the videos, one of the Zoom meetings that you want to watch more than once. And when you watch it on YouTube, remember you can speed it up or slow it down. Typically, when I watch something on YouTube, when I take a course online, I like to watch things in the fast mode. Depending on who's speaking and what the content is, sometimes I watch at 2 times I'm sure you guys know that, but it's one of the benefits of being posting this on YouTube is you get to use the benefits of that platform, and that's one of the things you can do. So for this one, for this meeting, for this video, you may want to, again, put it in your favorites, save the link, watch it more than once, because I'm going to give you an overview of the financial planning portal, and that's going to be helpful throughout the rest of the semester, especially as we get into your capstone assignment. So I'm not going to be spending a lot of time going over the entire plan, but I do want to give you a good overview of your financial plan. So we'll do that in just a minute. Again, I'm still letting folks join. We have one more minute to let folks join before I get started. So I don't see any questions. And thank you, Alex. I appreciate you letting me know. And Alexandro, appreciate that. Welcome. Thank you guys for your flexibility. If you get a chance to post in GroupMe, if anyone's asking in GroupMe about where are we, why aren't we in class, I did post that as an announcement. The email went out last night about 5:30 p.m. So everyone's been notified, but I understand sometimes you, like me, don't get to your emails. So anyway, we will get started now. So I don't see any questions listed. Let me just say that having reviewed all of the assignments that were posted probably at 5 o'clock yesterday. That's when I did grading yesterday. So far everything looks pretty good, with a few exceptions. Clearly, there are some students out there, and I see the emails. I get an email notification when you sign up for your planning portal with BayRock. So for the large majority of you, you know that needed to be done before this week in order for you to be able to complete the assignment. For the dozen or so students who are just now getting around to it, and I see your names because I get an email reminder saying so and so signed up, so and so completed the setup, and those of you who are in that small group, you're going to get some deductions in this week's assignment. You won't be able to get the full points, so you'll get about half knocked off, and that's because you were warned, you were forewarned. I made it very clear last week in the Zoom meeting. And here's the deal. If you're coming to class, great. If you're not coming to class, you need to watch the Zoom meetings. If you're not aware of something that's said in class, that's on you. And so that's one of the benefits that you have when you ask me to do both online, on demand, and in class. We're not doing attendance. So it's on you. If you don't show up and you don't, get the information you need each week, then, your grade is going to suffer. And about 12 students, I'd say, are in that boat. So please don't send me an email whining about not being able to get the points, because I was very clear. So sorry about the little sermon, but that's important for those few students who are in that boat. For those of you who actually completed that portion of the assignment, most of you did, 90% of you did. Let me show you what happens. So I gotta remember I'm working on my iPad, so you're seeing my iPad. I have a lot of technology going here. So that's my iPad. Yeah, that's my iPad. So I'm going to just play. What I've done is I've opened Billy and Sally's plan in the BayRock portal. So just like you have your plan, hopefully you know how to log into it now. This is going to be such a big part of the course moving forward that I wanted to spend a little time as we do Credit Crush. The focus of today's lesson is Credit Crush. I'm going to show you how to take the information that you built into your financial plan last week, and I'm going to show you how to use some credit strategies so that you can discover for yourself which strategy will work the best. That's the key thing. But before I do that, I want to just do kind of an overview. So here is the profile. I'm going to give you the 3 upper tabs that you want to be very familiar with. So there are lots of upper tabs. There's profile, you see there where I hit on profile, and now I'm going to hit on dashboard. So when I hit the dashboard, it takes you to another place. And notice as I hit each of these upper tabs, I'm going to go dashboard, retirement, and profile. So that's what I'm going to review for you today. Those are the three upper tabs that you really want to be familiar with. So there's dashboard, there's retirement, coming, wait for it, and I think there you go. So you'll see that under retirement, you have these probabilities of success. And this is going to be a key focus for this semester. So again, the upper tabs, dashboard, retirement, and profile. So I'm just going to review these quickly. I'm going to do an overview of each of these three upper tabs, which means as you follow along, and again, you may want to take notes, but I would just say, go back and watch this video again if you're wanting to get a really good, solid understanding of how your financial plan is structured. Because each of these upper tabs are where you're going to go and click on in order to get to the data cards, which are in the lower tabs. So here we have profile. For those of you who have already done this, which again is 90% of you, you already set up this information. You put in your family information, that's you, any spouse you might have, any children, anyone in your plan. You've worked on some expenses, and you've probably gone in and put in a monthly expense using the simple approach, but you did that. You set up some savings, you built some data cards for income, and you created some goals in your plan, and then we get back to net worth. So under the upper tab, profile, the most important lower tab you're going to use throughout the rest of the semester is net worth. Notice net worth is where you will go to create accounts. So you can add accounts. That's what most of you have been doing. All of these accounts are easy to add. So you can add an account like a bank account, a credit card account, an investment account. You can, when you do an investment, you can make it different type of account, which we're going to go over more in the lessons moving ahead. So I just created an account, but I want to delete it. So I'm going to go back to goals and see if I can. Now I just want to make sure I didn't add another account for Billy and Sally. But you saw how I did that. I hit add account, I hit investment, and it automatically creates this data card. And now I have to tell it what type of account. So that was an investment. I don't want that to be added, so I could go and add a loan. And notice there are different types of loans. And I know most of you have already done this. Car loan, mortgage, whatever. So again, that's the main lower key you're going to use, or lower tab that you're going to use under profile, net worth. That's where you build everything into your plan. Not everything, but it's where you build most of everything into your plan. So you want to be familiar with that lower tab. So you see, that's what you did when you first signed up. You were asked to go through 6 data cards, and once you did that, you hit complete. And after you hit complete, you finished those 6 data cards, the very simple ones: goals, income, savings, expenses, family, and then net worth. And from there, I went and added several. I'll just show you what I did. I'll go back to Billy and Sally's plan, and I'm going to show you client access. So you see all of these things all these check marks. This is what I have to do to your plan, which I cannot do until after you set up your plan. So again, for those dozen students or so who are just now setting up their plan, you're behind. You're getting deductions because you missed assignments, and they were critical, and everything's critical moving forward in terms of scope and sequence. So if you start falling behind in terms of keeping up with building your financial plan, you're going to see that in your point accumulation in the course. So I'm going to go back to Billy's plan, and just continue the review. So I'm looking at profile. We go to profile, we see net worth. Before I leave net worth, I want to highlight this important piece where you can use the aggregation to link an account. Now, look, I know that many of you don't trust anyone. Yet, I want you to know that when you're using your credit card, your debit card, your bank is collecting data. They're keeping all of the transactions, which is good. That's Most of you are using your bank app to track your spending throughout the semester, which is great because if you're using a debit card, it's going to keep every single transaction to the penny. So you don't need to do that with an Excel spreadsheet. That's awesome. But here's the thing, this tool, your BayRock financial planning portal, has the ability to aggregate, to take all of your accounts, your credit card, your investments, your bank account transactions, and put them all into your financial plan, which helps you create a very detailed budget and spending forecaster. So I just wanted you to see you can link pretty much any institutional account here. And again, to do that, you go to Profile, Net Worth, and you just click on the link account. So it's just a great tool. This is a premium product for wealth management clients. This is what I use with my clients to build financial plans. And without the aggregation tool, I would be missing so much information. So imagine you're a client with a couple $1,000,000 and you have accounts all over the place, and you want your financial advisor, your financial planner, to be able to see the big picture of your financial life. And you want to see the big picture of your financial life. This tool, Link Accounts, is what gives us the ability to do that. So I'm not trying to sell it to you because frankly, I couldn't care less if you link your accounts I don't want your data, but some of you could use this benefit. And I know I hear from students every semester, I don't feel comfortable giving you my data. Fine, keep your data. However, if you're using something like mint.com, then you're doing exactly the same thing. It's just the difference between what you get here in the aggregation tool versus mint.com is we're not advertising to you. We're not taking your information and then sending you solicitations. That's what mint.com does. That's why it's free, but it's a great tool. It's exactly like this. It gives you all of your financial accounts, including transactions in one screen. It's pretty phenomenal. So this is something I wanted to do with my company, was to create the same kind of experience you get with mint.com without the advertising. So just wanted you to know that's there. So profile, net worth, that's where all the data cards are that are really the essential elements of your financial plan. So let's go from profile to dashboard and then back to retirement. So I'm going to go to dashboard. Dashboard is an interesting place. This week, we're going to be focusing on credit debt payment strategies. So notice in the dashboard, that's the upper tab, notice those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 additional lower tabs. So let's just play with those. We'll only do a couple here just so you see what they are. So the first one is the liquidity analysis. This is really where your financial planning tool is measuring your emergency fund. So for Billy and Sally, their target, that's to have a 3-month, so we've got them set up for a 3-month of living expenses. Do you remember those baby steps? What you should do, you should make sure you have $1,000, and then eventually you should get to 6 months of an emergency fund. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. So this is measuring that for Billy and Sally in their plan. And it basically says that their target is $52,000. Based on their income, they need to have 3 months set aside in an emergency fund, in other words, liquid, so they can grab it instantly. If either one of them were to become disabled or for whatever reason lose their job. So the target's 52. What they actually have is $4,000, not near enough. And so they have a deficit of 48. So that's there. Just wanted you to see in dashboard, one of the tabs that gives you a little insight into your overall financial plan is the liquidity tab. Then we get to budget. Now, budget, remember I told you about linking? You can link your credit cards, you can link your accounts. This feature, the budget feature, which is really powerful and really helpful, it's only available if you link accounts. And if you do link your accounts, it gives you all of the data. It gives you the transactional data. If it's a credit card, bank account, an investment account, whatever it is, it will give you the exact data. And it reads that data from the institution that you're linking. So in other words, if you have a Bank of America credit card and you put in your credentials, then your financial plan will be able to read that data. It can't do anything with that. It can't go back and make trade, move money. It can't do any of that. It's a one-way data feed. So again, the budget function of this financial planning software, which is really just a super complicated calculator, it can't use this feature if you haven't linked accounts. Just FYI. And then we get to debt. So again, we're in the dashboard. That's the upper tab. And the lower tab we're looking at is debt. And so this is where we're going to work this morning. And we're going to focus on some strategies. So we're going to show, you see current and you see proposed. Current and proposed. So right now, we haven't made any proposals. We're going to do that in just a few minutes. In fact, that's what we're going to spend most of today on, is adding strategies. We're going to use 3 different strategies for paying off your debt. But first, I want to just kind of do a review of this platform for you. And then I want to just take a little closer look at Billy and Sally to see where they are financially so that you can get an idea, a better feel for how this whole process works for you. So to do that, to give you an overall understanding of where Billy and Sally are, now this is like many years later from when our story. Remember, you met Billy and Sally last week, and the pickup truck and the tires. Remember that story? This is the same couple who got married, had kids, have accumulated a good deal of debt. They're both working. So let's take a look. The best way to get a picture of their financial life is to go to retirement. So I clicked on the retirement tab. This is the upper tab. And we're just going to take a look at some things so that you can see, A, where are Billy and Sally in terms of their financial situation? And B, what are the pieces of the puzzle that impact their financial plan? Because that's what you're going to be working on throughout the rest of the semester as you work towards completing your capstone assignment. So every lesson, every homework assignment, everything you do in your financial plan moving forward will be focused on building into your capstone. Does that make sense? So I'm going to shut up for a minute and just go and see if I have any questions or comments. And I'm just going to give you a minute to make any comments. And I thought I had some water, but I don't. So I'm just going to take a couple breaths. Anyone have any questions, comments, insights, funny stories? Doesn't look like, are you guys there? I hope you're there. Maybe you could put a smiley face in the chat. I see everyone who's in the chat, but no comments. Okay. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, now's a good time just to chime in. Does it make sense so far? Is there something you want me to back up and re-explain so far about the financial planning portal? If not, I'm going to move on. And I don't see any. Oh, I do see a comment. Smiley faces. It makes sense. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I feel warm and fuzzy all over again. I think it's the medicine, but I appreciate the smiley faces. It lets me know you're here. So I'm going to just continue. I'm taking my iPad And I'm going to jump into, again, we're focusing on 3 of the upper tabs that you want to be very familiar with. Those upper tabs all have lower tabs. So now we're in the upper tab called retirement, the one kind of in the middle. And this is the workbench of your financial plan. Okay, this is where everything really, the work gets done right here. So for Billy and Sally, we're going to, under retirement, the lower tabs, we have analysis. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see there's a stress test, Social Security, Medicare, and cash flows. You're only going to need to be focused on 2 of those lower tabs. One is the screen we're on now, the tab that we're on now. It's the analysis. So the analysis tab is one that you're going to want to be familiar with. It's probably of every part of your financial plan, this is the one that's the most critical, the most important. It's where the most work can get done. And I'll show you why in just a minute. But before I do that, I want to point out this other lower tab called cash flows. So cash flows is way over there. And it's got, when you hit on cash flows, you have 4 tabs below that: summary, net worth, invested asset, and accounts. And I am going to just tell you that you don't really need to, if you don't want to, you don't need to get into this tab very much. But if you ever have a question about what's going on in your financial plan, this is a great place for you to go and do a little investigation. And this is where I will point you if you have a question about why is my probability of success over here in analysis. We're going to be trying to get our probabilities of success higher than 0. In fact, we want to get them all the way up to like 80%, 80 to 100% probably isn't great for most people because it means you're just, well, we'll get into that later. But you want to have your probability of success way over 0. Billy and Sally have absolutely no chance of success in terms of the current plan that they have right now. They have no chance of success. And I'll show you that in a minute. But I just want you to see how this thing works, how your capstone is going to work. And it's retirement analysis where we're going to do all the work. You're going to see that below, under analysis, we have this action items. And those action items, those are the things that we're going to focus on. And you'll understand, not only understand, but this is where I'm going to teach you really the essential elements of financial planning, retirement planning specifically. So when we click on action items, you start to see all of this information. And each of these pieces of information are coming from a different data card, typically. Like, for example, Billy and Sally's retirement age. Remember, in the goals section, one of the goals was retirement. So that's where Billy and Sally said, Billy said, I want to retire at 59. Sally said, I want to stop working at 55. So you see again, retirement monthly expenses. That's after retirement. They're assuming that they're going to spend 10 grand a month. And before retirement, right now, they're assuming, just based on some simple math, they didn't do a detailed budget like you had to do, but they just picked a number that they thought made sense, and it's $12,000 a month. So this is some other assumptions. How much are they going to put into savings? Billy and Sally both have a 401k plan at work, and they're both putting in so much money. So again, right now, their plan has 0 probability for success. So you see on the right, we have the current plan. And then on the left, we have their spring 2022 plan. So you can do the same thing in your plan. You can create the proposed plan, or you can actually give it a name. And that's up to you. But you can see here that we're going to be working on the spring 2022 plan. And so, again, in retirement, that's the upper tab. The analysis tab, that's where everything happens. This is the action items, so you should be able to click on this in your plan and see the same information. under action items, and this is where you're going to be working as we move forward and we add lessons and you build information into your financial plan. Today we're going to focus on credit crush. So we're going to go back to that in just a minute. But before we do that, I wanted just to show you that Billy and Sally are in a plan. Their plan is absolutely going to fail. And they make pretty good money. So if we go back to profile, I want to see how much money they make. So I go to profile, and you see those tabs, those lower tabs, and this is where I will have to look in your plan if I want to question whether or not your plan makes sense. So as Billy and Sally's financial planner, I want to see what do we have for income for these folks. So Billy is making $84,500 a year. Sally's making $87,500 a year. I think Sally works at Walmart, and I'm pretty sure Billy works at Marathon. So that's how much money they're making. And when we go to savings, we see that Billy wants to save 10% of his income for his 401k, and Sally wants to save 11%. So that's good. I'm just curious. And then we go to goals, and that's where we see their retirement, the expenses, when they want to retire. So you see here the retirement age. That's where they built that. I think that's where they built that. So yeah, they just put when they wanted to retire. And that obviously makes a huge difference when we go back to the retirement and we look at the analysis. The zero probability of success plan is based on all of those inputs that we just looked at across the board in Billy and Sally's financial plan. So just for fun, I'm going to just move some things around to see what happens to their probability of success. And this is just to give you a quick insight about how this works. And then we're going to jump into the credit crush part of the assignment and wrap things up. But first, I just wanted to show you, okay, these are Billy and Sally's current plan. They plan to retire. He wants to retire at 59, her at 55. Their retirement expenses, they think, is $10,000 a month. Billy's going to save 10% of his 401k. Sally's going to save 11%. They're saving $10,000 a year in a joint account that we will invest and try to earn some income. So I want you to see a couple of things here that will move the needle, because that's what you're going to be doing in your plan. We're going to work on credit crush. That really moves the needle. I'll show you that in a minute. But I just wanted to show you how right now these other things can move the needle. So for example, let's say Billy and Sally decide that they know this plan is absolutely going to fail. And they say, Jim, show me how we can make it succeed. How can we increase our probability of success? So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do this to exaggerate. I would never really recommend this to a client, but I'm going to make this just an exaggerated cartoon so you can see how this works. So first I'm going to say, Billy, you should work till you're 80. Sally, you should work till you're 80. And you guys should spend zero money in retirement. You should just live on food stamps. And you should max out your 401ks, both of you. And you should probably invest $20,000 a month instead of $10,000. And let's drop your pre-retirement to zero. You see how I just made a bunch of stuff up. Obviously, it's totally retarded. Sorry, I didn't mean to use that word. It's totally ineffective. It's not going to work. Nobody would make these recommendations to anyone. I'm just doing it to show you kind of a cartoon. Now I have to hit this refresh button right here. And don't forget, anytime you make changes in your plan, this is the button you have to hit. So when I hit the refresh button, let's see what happens. So it refreshes. I want to see probabilities. Okay, look, we have 100% probability of success. Now, when I look at this, if this was your plan and you submitted it to me, first thing I would do is go to cash flows. And I would just be curious to know I want to see what's happening in your plan, and I see some expenses, but if I click on expenses, I still see living expenses, which is strange because I thought I changed that to 0. Oh, that's the current plan. Okay, so if I go to cash flows, and I should be able to select, instead of the current plan, I just made changes to the 2022 plan. So let's do that. Let's look at the 2022 plan. And then when I do that, give it a minute to, it's still thinking, it's still refreshing. It has to take a minute to refresh. So there's still going to be expenses. There are going to be things like taxes and a few other things. But I'm looking for, so there's housing, there's debt, we have 0 for healthcare, but I don't see any living expenses. Obviously, that's a problem. But obviously, again, based on these changes, their plan will succeed. Unfortunately, it's totally ridiculous. So if we go back to where they were, we're going to reset. I'm going to show you throughout this semester some very viable ways that Billy and Sally and you and anyone else can tweak your financial plan in terms of what you're actually doing in a way that will significantly move the needle. And that's the goal of financial planning, is how do we move the needle? How do we increase your probabilities of success in your plan? And again, remember, part of my goal for this semester is to teach you how to become a millionaire by the time you're 50, so that you'll be in a position where whatever you decide to do with your life, you'll be able to do, or at least be closer to being able to do. And if you have a plan, and if that plan has the right strategies in it, you'll be way more likely to succeed. So that's what we're going to be doing with Billy and Sally. I'll just tell you right now, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to focus on investing, because Billy and Sally are putting money away and they're investing, but they're currently not investing very wisely. So you're going to learn about investing this semester, but that's not today's lesson. I'll just tell you that investing is one of the ways that you can really move the needle on your probability of success. In fact, you're going to learn 4 investment strategies that are designed to maximize your returns and minimize your risk. So speaking of risk, I want to just take a minute and first I'm going to go to dashboard and we'll get set up. Looks like there we go. We're in dashboard. So our next stop is debt. We're going to work on debt strategies and we're going to work on credit crush. That's going to be the rest of the day. So hopefully that's been helpful to get an overview of the financial plan, the components that are built into your plan, the pieces of the puzzle that will be a part of your capstone assignment, and more importantly, how you can look at a financial plan and see why it's failing and what you might change to make it successful. So that's what you're going to be working on for the rest of the semester. And I'm going to guide you through each step of the way. Today, we're going to focus on the credit. We're going to look at credit and debt payment strategies and figure out which one will work the best for Billy and Sally. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, I want to jump over here and just check the market, because the market has been really crazy and it's looking like it's not doing so good at the moment. And we know why. That's because of Russia. So I'm just going to check a few things. This is one of the things I do in my job. Is I have to figure out, is today a day to buy, to sell, or to do nothing? And I'll tell you, this is a very interesting day. So we're looking at a chart of the S&P 500, and if you notice, there's this line right there. I could draw a line, I'm not going to, but you should be able to see that line. That's called support. You see where the chart comes down and then it bounces back up. So in October, right here, we had the market pull back. It hit a support level and then it bounced up. And then again in January, it pulled back. It was very ugly, very painful. If you're an investor, I am an investor. If you're a client of an advisor, I have clients who I manage their money. And those days are very painful. Well, look at today. It's painful. And it was painful last week, Thursday and Friday as well, and even the week before. So we are at a place right now in the market where if you do what I do, if you manage money, you look at these charts like I'm looking at the S&P 500, and I have to I have some other charts I will look at before I make any decisions. But we're at a critical juncture because if the market goes below that support, think about it, that's a support level. It's like a floor. It hits and it supports, and then up here we have a resistance. It's like hitting the ceiling. So right now we've got some resistance and we've got some support, and the market is hanging around support. But what if it goes through support? What if it goes below support? Ugh. That means we have to make some moves, because now if it breaks that support, which it hasn't broken in the last 3 market pullbacks, it bounced back up each time. But if it breaks down, that's a major signal that something is about to happen. And I'll let you guess at what happens. So if you want to know where are we in the market, this S&P 500 chart will tell you. That chart goes up and to the right, which is why we like to invest in equities, especially the S&P 500, which are the 500 largest companies in the United States. So we want to be investing. But when we look at this chart, we feel the pain. If you're investing in the S&P 500, which this SPY, I think I told you before, if I had one investment, only one investment I could make in all of my life, without a doubt, and it's not even close, it would be this, the SPY, because it represents the S&P 500. It's very, very liquid, which means you can buy it and sell it instantly. It's like a stock. And it's got a razor thin spread, which means the bid ask price is generally never more than a penny. It's an amazing investment vehicle. It's not a mutual fund. It's not an index fund. It's an ETF, an exchange traded fund. So that is a side note. The market is looking, so it's been up and down all day. NVIDIA is one that I've been watching, and you can see that a lot of these stocks, they're doing what the S&P 500 is kind of doing. And so anyway, that's what I do in my day job. It's one of the things I do in my day job. BayRock does financial planning and investment management, and it's my company, and that's what I do. So it's not fun on days like today. So let's finish out today's assignment. I'm going to check to see, Charles, inflation is a big part of it. And because of inflation, Charles, the reason the market is scary, partly, in addition to Russia invading Ukraine, I mean, that's really what's the headline news. But in addition to Russia invading Ukraine, inflation has been really high, like 40-year highs. And because of that, the Fed is going to come in and raise interest rates. And when they do that, it really puts a damper on the markets. And so the Fed has already said that they need to raise interest rates 5 times in the next 18 months. So the market is reacting to that. It's saying, okay, it's time to sell before the market goes down. And then Russia invades Ukraine and the market goes down even further. And so those are the things that are affecting the market right now. So it's an interesting day to be looking at the SPY just to see where it's going to go. This will really tell us a story about whether or not we're in trouble in the next few weeks. If it bounces, then we have to watch it and see how high it goes from there. But if it goes down, it could go down a lot. And that's just the way That's just the way this market works. So the SPY is a chart I'm watching very closely, Charles. Putin is on the way of self-destroying. Man, you would think every dictator should find that destructive end before they kill so many people. So days like today make me, even when I'm losing money in the market, it makes me very thankful that I live in this country. But anyway, I digress. Back to the point. Credit crush. Here we go. This is probably my favorite part of the semester to teach this, because you learn in the baby steps, or maybe it's so the baby steps from Dave Ramsey. One of them is to pay off all your debt, starting with credit cards, and your mortgage comes later. But this assignment, the Credit Crush assignment, is really just one assignment designed to show you exactly how that works. So we use the powerful tool of a financial plan, the software. Like I said, it's really just a sophisticated calculator, but it really helps you see and put into practice the things that we've talked about before, and what we talked about last week when I showed you how paying the minimum on your credit card makes you a customer for life with the credit card companies, and how that can cost you so much money. And so you will see in this assignment, in this next few minutes, how it works in your financial plan. Another thing I wanted to just highlight real quick is Dave Ramsey has what he calls the Snowball Effect. I think it's a Dave Ramsey idea. I know I wrote about it in my book, Make Your Money Count, but I didn't make it up. It's a very simple strategy, but it basically says pay off all of your debts, starting with the smallest one. And I know Dave Ramsey likes it because he says, and I agree, when you pay off that smallest loan, the smallest balance, even if it's not the highest interest rate, you get a sense of kind of check that off your list. When you check something off your list, you get some endorphins. You get a feeling of accomplishment. And when you have goals and you're able to accomplish those goals, even if they're relatively small goals that lead toward bigger goals, you get to feel a sense of accomplishment and achievement and success. And that is always good for all of us. And so the snowball effect when it comes to financial planning and debt management is a really important strategy for most people, because it's like once you decide you want to make progress in this area of money management and you want to eliminate debt, it just makes sense to knock out the smallest one, and then you have those funds that you were paying for that small balance loan to use for the next one. And then after you pay the next one off, the next smallest one, or I guess it'd be the next larger one, as soon as you pay that one off, then you move directly. You take those funds that you were allocating to those two smaller accounts and you allocate all that money to the next one until you're totally out of debt. So that's what we're going to look at. That's what we're going to do using this sophisticated calculator called a financial plan. So we're going to go to debt. Again, we've looked at 3 upper tabs. Profile, net worth was the one that was most important there, and that's where you link your accounts. That was the upper tab, profile with net worth. Then we looked at retirement analysis is the most important one. And then over there in cash flow, if you want to take a deeper look into your financial plan. But here in the dashboard, we've got balance sheet, liquidity, budget, and we're going to debt. So we want to take a look at debt. And this is where we have the current strategy. That's the current strategy and the proposed strategy. But we haven't made any proposals yet. So that's why we come down to action items. Action items is what opens the window for you to actually make some proposals. So let's do this. And this is what you're going to do in your plan this week with your debt. You're going to start by saying, okay, we know that Billy and Sally have some debt and they want to get rid of that debt. So they're going to have to increase the amount that they're spending. Right now they're spending, if we go up here to, we go to payment. So notice there are 3 tabs: strategy, payment, and details. And when you get to details, you can select all whatever loans or debts that you have, they're going to be listed here. So it's like a drop down window. So we've got details, we've got payment, we've got strategy. Strategy is where we say, here's what we're going to do differently. But first, let's go to payment. And notice you can arrange these by clicking on the tabs, and it will change. So if I want to see which one's the minimum payment, what do we have for 0? Billy's mortgage. Oh, so I must have set up Billy's mortgage by accident. So I'm just going to jump over here. I'm going to go to loan. I'm going to find Billy's mortgage if I can. Loan, Billy's loan, and I want to delete that. So I'm going to hit delete, delete, and now I'm going to go back. Sorry about that. Back to the dashboard because I don't want to have that in here. I'm going to go to debt. And now when I go to payments, I don't have Billy's 0 mortgage. I must have set that up by accident when I was showing you stuff. So now it's gone. So here we go. Again, you'll see minimum payments. You can, just by clicking on that header, you will sort the column. So it's like a little spreadsheet inside of your financial plan. So balance, you want to see which one has the biggest balance or the lowest balance. That's going to be important in just a second. Interest rate, which one has the highest or lowest interest. Does that make sense? It's really kind of cool. And then minimum payment, and then your current payment. And that's what I wanted to point out, is that the current payment right now, Billy and Sally are paying the minimum, which is the same as their current payment. So we want to change that. Remember the damage that happened to Billy on his first credit card for the purchase at Firestone, how incredibly expensive and ridiculous it was because he was taking advantage of their minimum payment. Well, that's what Sally and Billy are essentially doing on all of their loans. So to fix that, we're going to jump over here to strategy. But before I go to strategy, though, let's just look at details. So we've got all of their loans. Billy has a car. Sally has a car. Billy has a credit card. Sally has a credit card. And together they have a house. So that's 5 loans. So we're going to be looking at Billy's car loan, Sally's car loan, Billy's credit card, Sally's credit card, and the mortgage. That's what we're going to be looking at. And we're going to come up with strategies. We're going to try to figure out which of 3 different strategies will work best to help Billy and Sally get out of debt faster so that they have more money to push towards their other goals. The goals primarily of retirement. That's the biggest and most difficult to achieve, and they both want to retire relatively early, so they're going to have to make some radical changes in their lifestyle and in their plan, starting with the credit crush. So here we go. So if we look at the details, if we look at Billy's, he's got this really cool F-150 or F-250 actually, toy hauler, and he has some really cool stuff built into it. But it's kind of an expensive vehicle. It's got a $46,000 balance. So you just notice he's paying interest of $49.55 a year, and his payments annually $7,800. And if he does that, he's going to have it paid off in 2032. That's Billy's car. Let's look at Sally's car. Sally's got a Tesla. She owes $47,850. Interest of $4,000. She's paying $8,900. So she'll have that paid off in 2030. Okay. So now let's look at Billy's credit card. Billy's credit card is looking like a disaster. It's kind of like the same one he had before. Billy hasn't learned. Let's see what Sally's got. Sally's credit card, she's paying $1,500 a year, interest of $4,000. The credit card company loves these people so much because look at that. Obviously, that's ridiculous. I don't want to use the other R word, but if there's anything stupider, I don't know what it is. And yet, this is not that unusual. Look around. If you don't believe me, nobody's going to come out and tell you, look how much money I'm spending on my credit. that they don't know, most people. They just know that their monthly payment is affordable and they keep paying it. But because you're going to be smarter, you're going to know that this is no way to win the game. So we looked at Billy's car, Sally's car, Billy's credit card, Sally's credit card, and then we look at, this is their home, and it's a 30-year loan, so that's pretty reasonable. That's not a bad, crazy debt. They've got a balance of $457, and it's constantly going down. They're paying more in the payment than the interest. So let's just see what happens when we go back to the strategy tab and start to make some recommendations. So here's the action items. First thing, how much money would you think, based on how much they're earning, they're only paying $38.53 a month in debt repayment? So they're making $170,000 between them. How much would you think they should be spending to get rid of their debt if they were following any blueprint for financial independence or financial freedom or financial success? If they had any idea of a plan, the first thing they would do is start to attack their debt. But how much would that, what would that look like if you're Billy and Sally? So I'm going to give it a minute and see if anyone's got any comments if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, just take a second and write a little bit about how much do you think Billy and Sally should carve out of their budget to pay down their credit, their debt. Because that's the key. That's going to really determine any one of these three strategies that we're about to look at. We're going to look at paying the same across the board for all loans. We're going to go from the highest to lowest interest rate. Let's see if I can enlarge that. I don't think I can. There we go, kind of, sort of. So those are the three strategies. Those are the three strategies we have available in this super sophisticated calculator. But it's all going to be determined on how much money are we going to set aside each month to attack this one goal of eliminating debt. And it's going to make a big difference in the financial plan. I don't see any comments in the Zoom room. That's making me sad, but I've been sad before. I'll get over it. You can speak up if you want. Anybody have a suggestion? How much money per month do you think we should add here for additional monthly payment? That's the question. What do you guys think? So nobody knows, so I'm just going to pick a number. I'm just going to go with $500. Should be so doable if I can just get that to 5. Okay, we'll go with $550. So remember the refresh button. You always have to hit the refresh button if you want to see what's going to happen. So what I've done is nothing except I hit $550. That means we're going to put $550 a month additionally towards their loans. Now look, you'll want to make sure when you do this that you have used proposed payment in each of these, because the proposed payment is right here. That's what we're going to use. We're going to do 3 of them. We're going to do same priority for all of the loans to see what that looks like. We're going to see highest to lowest interest rate and lowest to highest balance. So let's see. And you can make predictions now if you'd like. 500, Ariel, that's great. Thanks. I came up with a very similar number. I couldn't actually get it to be 500. Oh, yeah, I guess I could if I just do that. So there we go. Now I'm going to hit refresh with $500. And let's see. So now you see that the chart we have is showing the green and the blue. The blue is proposed, and I'm on my iPad, you could use your mouse. I'm using my finger. You can see I'm using my finger. And so what I'm doing is, you can see those numbers are changing. The current, what it's showing is how much debt do we have at the end of the plan. So total savings of $110,000, $780, total savings, but it doesn't eliminate the debt. It just reduces how much you're spending on debt. So let's go take a look at this. So let's look at payment first. So remember, their current payment is here. You see the current payment right there. Minimum payment right there, and then the proposed payment. So you see that what we basically did when we added $500, this super sophisticated calculator called a financial plan in this debt strategy tab basically added $100 to each loan. Pretty simple. And so that's what we have here. So if we want to see what does that really look like, we go to details. And I would start with Billy's car. He's going to pay it off in 2030. So let's look at Sally's car. She's going to pay it off in 2029. So they're both getting paid off a little bit quicker. Let's look at Billy's credit card. Billy's credit card gets paid off sooner. It doesn't go infinitely, so that's a good thing. Let's look at Sally's credit card. Sally's credit card continues and continues and continues because there's just not enough juice in that lemon to take care of that credit card. Even though she's paying $100 more, her interest rate is sufficiently high to make that payment. Even though it's not the minimum payment, it's not enough to exceed the interest. So that's what's happening there. And then the loan on the home looks like it's probably paying it off a little bit early. So that's what happens with that first strategy. $110,000 savings. It's better than doing nothing, but it's really not going to move the needle on their retirement plan. It's really not going to move the needle on their financial situation. So what do you think we should try next? I like to try the lowest to highest balance because typically, I think most of the time, the one that wins is the highest to lowest interest rate. But the lowest to highest balance has some additional benefits that really make sense. For most people, because we are people and people have a certain way of thinking, and the way we think has a way of impacting the way we feel, and the way we feel has a huge impact on what we do, and what we do moves the needle on our life. So that makes sense. That's Psychology 101, is the way that you think impacts the way that you feel, and how you feel determines what you do. And so if we do a few things here that may not make the most financial sense in the world, they may feel very differently, and that feeling may cause you to act in a way that really helps you succeed even better than being super smart. And that's how life works. Sometimes finances and life work a little differently, but you can be successful and not be the smartest tool on the shelf, or the sharpest tool on the shelf. So let's go with lowest to highest, and let's just see. Got to hit refresh. We hit refresh, and it's thinking. And now the current, let's look at the proposed. So now we see, if I take my finger across that scale, and you could do this with your mouse, but if I do it with my finger, you can see how this proposed strategy is actually reducing their debt. It's crushing it. It's crushing it down the hill. Look at that. They get out of debt 514 months sooner. And this chart, and again, if you're on your computer, you just use your mouse, you don't use your finger. But it saves them. I know this number's ridiculous, and that's why I think these numbers in this plan are ridiculous. But the truth is, some of the debt repayment schedules that are out there are ridiculous. And so this is no exception. Basically says over their lifetime, they're pretty young. They have a lot of debt. And if they keep going down the stupid path with their strategy that they're using now, they're just going to be like the best customer for life for every credit card company they come in contact with. But it's going to destroy them financially. So let's look at the payments. Let's see what we did here. So we've got the current payment and then the proposed payment. So the mortgage, stays the same, doesn't change. What do we have here? We've got the mortgage, Sally's Tesla. What order do we have these in? Let's see. I want to see which one is current payment, proposed payment. Okay, there it is. You see how we're taking Billy's credit card first because that's the smallest balance. That's right. That's what we're doing here. We're taking the smallest balance first. And that's why, okay, I forgot which strategy we were using. So this strategy is take the smallest balance and pay it off. And it had huge benefits. You just saw that when we go to strategy, you see this has huge, as opposed to this one where the debt just keeps increasing. With this proposed strategy, and if we show both, no, I guess we can't show both, it goes down. It goes down pretty rapidly. It moves the needle, and it's going to make a tremendous impact on their financial situation. So the way we're doing that is we're taking the balance that's the smallest and paying it off first. So if we look at Billy's truck, let's look at the details. Billy's truck gets paid off first. Now it's paid off in 2031. So now what's the next smallest one? The next smallest one would be Sally's Wells Fargo. So let's go see what happens with Sally's card after, when is Billy's? Billy's is paid off in 2031. So just keep that in mind. With this new strategy, Billy's credit card, or yes, truck. Wait a minute, which one are we on here? Billy's credit card, that's the one we want to see. Billy's credit card gets paid off when? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I know this can be confusing. I don't mean to confuse you. I hope you go play with this in your own plan. Smallest balance, Billy's credit card gets paid off in like 4 years. Actually, less than 4 years. So now what we want to do is I want to go back and see what happens to the next smallest account. So Billy's is the smallest. What's the next smallest would be Sally's Wells Fargo. Billy's got paid off, his credit card got paid off in 2026. So now I want to see what Sally's credit card looks like after 2026, because it's going to be the same payment until after 2026. Because remember, what we're doing is we're attacking the smallest balance first. And then once that's gone, we're attacking the next one, the smallest balance that remains. In this case, it's Sally's Wells Fargo. So that one gets knocked out. Remember how that credit card went on infinitely before? Because she was paying less than the interest. Interest kept accumulating and the balance kept growing. This was the one that really moved the needle. And so we attacked this one, even though this one's the one with the worst interest rate. We got rid of both of them. And this isn't even the most superior strategy in most cases, but clearly it worked. Now let's look and see. So Sally's Wells Fargo got paid off in 2030. So then what's the next smallest one? The next smallest one would be Billy's truck. So we're going to see what happens after 2030 on Billy's truck. So after 2030, we see that we pay that one off. We double up, pay that balance off. So 2031, Billy's truck is paid off. So I wonder what happens. I know Sally's Tesla is the next smallest because the house, the mortgage, is the biggest one. We'll save that for last. So after 2030, this one gets paid off too. It just happens to happen coincidentally about the same time. And then we get to the house. Do we go all 30 years? No. We pay the house off early too. Starting as soon as we pay off Sally's vehicle, we start to increase the payment on the house. So now instead of just taking the $500 that we started with, because that was our strategy, all we did was increase our payment total cash flow toward that one goal of eliminating debt. And we added $500 to that one goal. And then we used a really smart strategy to get the lowest balance paid off. So then we move to the next lowest balance and look at the number, make a mental note, $205 million in 514 months. Now, I'm not going to walk through all the pieces of the puzzle for the next one, but let's just see what happens to that number when we go the largest interest rate. We pay that loan off first and then move to the next highest interest rate. Let's see what happens when we use that strategy. So we're going to use highest to lowest interest rate. I have to hit the refresh button. And when I do, let's see what happens to that number. So it doesn't change a ton. Instead of 514 months, we have 515. And what was the total savings? It seems like it was 208. Let me see. So we got 205 if we do interest rate. Let's do lowest to highest. I want to see instead of 205. Yeah, so it doesn't really change. It's not really that big of a difference. Which, that's great. It's interesting, though, in real life, most of the time, it is at least in my experience, it seems like the highest to lowest interest rate usually wins. But it doesn't matter. What matters is you take your plan and you take your debt and you apply these 3 strategies to your debt, and you tell me, you write a little article and you tell me, hey, this is what worked the best, and this is what I learned in this part of the exercise, in this lesson, in this week's assignment, in the credit crush. Kind of combining what you learned about credit card debt last week with Billy and Sally's story and the cost of credit cards, and what you learned this week by creating your own set of debt and then applying these debt payment strategies. I want to know just overall, kind of, what are you thinking? What are you learning? Is this helpful? Is this something that you think can keep you out of the ditch that Billy and Sally are in and that so many other people are in when it comes to managing or mismanaging debt? It's really mismanaging money, but it's more focused on debt. Debt can really destroy your financial future, especially if you don't manage it well. So this week in Credit Crush, you learned 3 strategies to attack your credit. But I want to see how it worked in your plan. So that's your assignment. I will post your assignment in Blackboard before the end of today. And again, your assignments are due on Tuesday at 10 a.m. every week. But if you turn it in Friday by 3 p.m., you get some extra points. And you get to have a little bit of, if you missed anything, you get some, I'll point that out. I'll tell you what you missed, and you'll have the opportunity to fix it. If you don't turn it in early and you miss something, you don't get a chance to fix it. And if you're one of those students, 12 or so students, who just didn't get around to registering for your planning portal until like yesterday, you're just out of luck this week. So if you email me and you tell me, I blah, 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 whatever your reason is, I'm going to say next week, turn your assignment in early, get some extra points, and you'll be fine. 1 week of having deductions isn't going to ruin your grade. But for the A students out there, you guys already know that it's going to be really, really easy to accumulate 950 points by the end of the semester because you're getting extra points for turning it in early. And so I want to encourage everyone to do that. And the students who are just determined to stay behind and do everything the last minute, that's on you. I'm not going to be the guy who rescues you. I'm going to say, hey, here's the deal. Take advantage of it or don't. But don't, I'm not going to be really all that compassionate when you email me to tell me I didn't know, because you should have known. If you're watching, if you're coming to class, if you don't come to class, watch the Zoom meeting, because that's where I'm going to say things that you need to pay attention to. So if you miss it, you missed it, but you can make it up. Just do your assignments early. So thank you guys, all of you who are doing that. I appreciate it. It makes my job so much easier. And I just appreciate your commitment to get as much out of this course as you possibly can. And I also want to say thank you for letting me teach from home today. Feeling a little better already. Hope to be feeling much better soon. Hope y'all are doing great. Hope you had a great long weekend. Hope you have a great week. Now, I'm going to just take a peek and see if there's any comments, any questions. You guys know how to reach me if there is. If you have any questions that you're not thinking of at the moment. But I don't see any chats. You guys are way too quiet in Zoom. Okay, have a great week. I'll see you next week in class. Take care, Andrew. You bet. You too. Take care. You bet. Take care, Kenneth. Okay, now I'm going to close out. I just quit the Zoom meeting. Now I'm going to end the broadcast and post this video to our YouTube playlist. Let me just see. No, uh, the YouTube playlist is at Money Study Group. And if you want to just look for that Money Study Group, you'll see the playlist for this semester. If you're a student in the course, you have a link in your course, so you should be able to find this video. If you can't find it, just jump into GroupMe, and I'm sure one of those students will be happy to tell you where to find our playlist. If you don't know by now, though, you're pretty far behind. So leave a comment. If you like watching on YouTube, hit that little bell and you'll get a notification every time we post a video to our channel. And again, every week we do the Zoom meeting, and this video will get posted in the playlist. If you're watching on Facebook, please leave a comment. And, you know, throughout each of these lectures, you have opportunities to leave a comment. But I always like to read your comments on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're a student at the University of Houston and you do leave a comment on Facebook or in YouTube, make sure you grab a screenshot and include that in your weekly assignment so that you get to capture all of the points available in your class participation, which is 200 points. So I'm going to end it right there. Have a great week, everybody.